Hello and welcome to the second game of the stage of the World Championship in Through the Ages. Maybe you remember the first game, it was a two-player game against Flackk, quite an intense game, quite a close game where I managed to win at the end, but it definitely also could have gone the other way. And now we have the second game that is finished from the stage. This time it is a three-player game, Flackk is again involved, and then we also have HealingAura as this third player. And yeah, so that will be in the game that we will be taking a look at now. And now without further ado, we are going to start. And first of all, of course, we will take a look at the leaders and wonders. And no, we can see that there is Gandhi in H3, no Churchill, there is the Manhattan Project. There is also Marlene Dietrich, but no Fleming or Chaplin. There is Pierre in the internet, which is a combination. Mandela is there as well. There are some science or lab leaders with Sid Meier, Steve Jobs, and Albert Einstein. And in H2 we have quite a lot of culture leaders. There are Shakespeare, Bach, Darwin, Anthony Gaudi, so being prepared for them might not be bad, especially also with Gandhi being available at the end, the Hollywood, so that could definitely be quite a strategy for this game. But we also have James Cook in the Suez Canal, so that of course can work very well. We have Maria Theresa in the ocean liner service, so there are some other strong combinations. Robespierre is there as the only military action leaders. There in general quite some strong wonders. The Harvard College is there as well, the Statue of Liberty. In H1 we have both of the Happy Face solution wonders with the Forbidden City and St. Peter's Basilica. The Great Wall is there, the Silk Road. We have one military action leader in H1 as well with Jan Žižka. There are Columbus and Eleanor as nice transitional leaders. There's Gutenberg for some lab and printing press synergy, and then also Nostradamus and Barbarossa to maybe help with the strength. Barbarossa, Isabella, and Eleanor could maybe work nicely in a colonization game as well as Columbus. So yeah, an interesting mix of leaders and wonders. HealingAura is in the first position, and he just takes the engineering genius, which is probably a good pick. And for me it was relatively clear that I want to go for Ashoka plus one of those yellow cards. Of course I could just take the Rome Roads and have a very solid wonder, or maybe even the Stonehenge. Those wonders are actually quite close for me, and then maybe I could also prefer the Stonehenge at the end. So I could just take one of those wonders, and there are some interesting leaders that could come out of the deck. There's Boudica and Hammurabi, but there's definitely a chance that, for example, Caesar will be taken by one of the opponents, because there might not be a lot of other leaders available. If I just go for Rome Roads, I thought it's very likely that Flackk maybe just goes for Ashoka and two yellow cards, or for Ashoka and Stonehenge. And then maybe only Caesar is available for HealingAura, so then Boudica is maybe already not that great. And also I just don't know whether those leaders will be coming out of the deck and where exactly they will be placed on the card row. So I didn't like it too much. And when I go for Ashoka, then Stonehenge and Rome Roads are very likely taken away. But at least there's a chance that the pyramids might be available, and if not, maybe a chance that Acropolis will be available. Of course, it could be that Flackk, for example, goes for Rome Roads and the Urban Growth, and then the Stonehenge will be discarded. Maybe HealingAura takes the Acropolis, but even then, I would have the chance to at least get the Hanging Gardens if I want to. So I should be able to get a wonder. Now the question is, which yellow card should I take together with Ashoka? And there are two Urban Growths and a Rich Land. At the end, I went with the Rich Land, because I was hoping that I maybe have a shot at getting the pyramids, and if I should decide to use the yellow card, then when I build a mine with the rich land, I have full resources after my next turn, meaning development of markets or crafts would allow me to finish the pyramids in the first turn. So that is one reason. But it might also be that I don't want to use it at all to build a mine, or if I take the Urban Growth to build a lab, and rather want to keep it in hand for Ashoka to have another color in hand. And I thought with the wonders that are in the game, Ocean Liner Service, Harvard, and Suez Canal, it could be nice to have some iron production. So ideally, I would try to set myself up in a way that I maybe can go for iron, and with that I also thought that maybe at the end a Richland is more likely to be used if I should just keep it in hand for Ashoka and don't use it for the third mine immediately. It's relatively close. Also now Flackk can only take Urban Growths, and I thought he either wants to take Stonehenge or Rome Roads, and I think with both of those wonders I personally would prefer to have the Richland, so it's also, that is a very small part of the reasoning. In the end I just went for Ashoka and Richland. I have Ashoka in hand together with the yellow card already, and then at the next turn I was hoping that I maybe can go for Acropolis, which could be a very interesting wonder with all of those culture leaders in the game, or maybe I could even get a shot at the pyramids, which is in general a nice combination with Ashoka. Flackk then goes for the Roman roads and takes one of those urban growth, takes the right one, so he wants to see more cards revealed. Which makes sense, because that makes it more likely that a leader will be available for cheap for him at his next turn. Then it's Healing Aura's turn. As you can see, the pyramids are indeed revealed, and Healing Aura decides to go for the Acropolis here, meaning I, at the next turn, will be able to take the pyramids, and that even for one civil action. So that was quite surprising for me, and no, I definitely didn't think that I would be able to get the pyramids that cheaply, but it's actually, I think, the first card that came out of the deck, and now Healing Aura decides against taking the pyramids, takes the Acropolis, and with that the pyramids will fall down to one civil action. Maybe he could have also taken a Stonehenge, let the pyramids stay on 2 civil actions, or just went for the pyramids himself, but he wants to have the Acropolis, and as said, there are some nice culture leaders. There's Gandhi at the end, so the Acropolis has definitely the potential to do a lot of work, and then he also decides to go for Caesar. The one additional strength from the Acropolis could also be a nice combination for Caesar, and there is the Suez Canal, so maybe he could also with Caesar set himself up for a colonization game. But I of course was very happy to see that I get the pyramids for one civil action. I of course take it, and then the biggest question at this turn was, do I indeed want to keep the rich land in hand, or do I want to use it immediately? Now I have the pyramids, Caesar is in front of me, so there is a chance that even multiple events might be seated before my turn, meaning that there could be something like development of markets or crafts revealed, and when I use the rich land now, then I could just finish the pyramids. On the other hand, keeping it in hand makes it maybe just a bit more easier to get the Ashoka bonus going, and yeah. It's a very close decision, I would say. At the end, I made a decision to keep the rich land in hand, but I think using it would also be quite fine. There are some yellow cards coming down the row, maybe not the most interesting ones, so it definitely could be an advantage to have the rich land still in hand. But no, I think both decisions are just fine here, and at the end, I just kept it in hand. Now I do draw some cards. A colonization card could be nice, also especially to use it as a defense card in case Healing Aura goes for something aggressive. Flackk goes for Hammurabi, which is in general, of course, maybe a bit greedy when playing behind Caesar, but what makes it quite a bit less greedy is that he can take the monarchy immediately together with him. That is quite a strong start, getting Hammurabi and the monarchy, and with having a way to get the third military action, then of course Hammurabi is a lot more easily playable when playing behind Caesar. Healing Aura seeds and opens the development of markets, so if I would have used the rich land, now I would have had a chance to finish the pyramids immediately. And then Healing Aura seeds again, so he is drawn to events, opens the development of agriculture, so even more stuff is gained. He will go take Nostradamus, increases his population, builds the second lab, builds one stage of the Acropolis, doesn't want to go into consumption yet, rather wants to build that stage. Maybe is hoping to get the second copy of Monarchy at the next turn, and he isn't electing Nostradamus yet, maybe he still wants to get some value out of Caesar potentially. Now it's my turn. I can't finish the pyramids now, but it's also not too bad. I just use my turn to build my second lab, increase my population, and now the question is, what do I want to take from the row? And of course there are some different options. The masonry could potentially be interesting, the irrigation could be interesting, just to have it in hand, also in case I maybe go for the ocean liner service later on. I could just take Isabella in hand as a leader, plus a yellow card or something like this. But I think when playing Ashoka, you ideally want to keep him for quite a long time, and then it is very, very nice to have a transitional leader at the end of the age, and with that I was willing to do the Columbus gamble. It cost me 2 civil actions, so I don't have a backup colony in hand here, or any colony in hand, so it's definitely a risk, but I will have some draws left, and no, it's not unlikely that I will draw a colony at some point, and then it's just a very, very strong leader to get after having had Ashoka. Having a green card in hand will make it a lot easier to get a lot of value out of Ashoka. I can just keep Columbus in hand, rich land in hand, and then hopefully I will be able to get some nice value out of Ashoka. And so at the end I made a decision to go for Columbus, but of course there is a chance that it backfires and I don't draw a colony at all. But no, I was willing to take that risk, especially also with the Suez Canal being the game. So as soon as I get a colony with Columbus, then maybe later on in H2 draw another one, then already the Suez Canal can be quite a decent option. And while I was not able to finish the pyramids this turn, thanks to the additional resources that I was able to take from the development of markets and and thanks to the one additional resource that I now produce with Ashoka, I'm able to finish the pyramids the next turn, so that should also be fine, and now at least I got the science production up a bit earlier. And I was very happy to see that I indeed draw a colony immediately. The wealthy territory can be quite a fine one, definitely not the best one, but I was just very happy to have a colony in hand now, so with that I think Columbus should already be quite fine, and because the 6 additional resource from the wealthy territory can potentially also give quite a boost at the beginning of H2. Flackk this turn uses the 2 additional resources from the development of markets to just finish the Rome roads. With all of the additional developments revealed, he couldn't do a monarchy revolution very nicely, and then he's also taking Isabella. Maybe wants to have a replacement for Hammurabi in hand, maybe was thinking that he maybe has a chance to use a colonization ability with HealingAura seeding a lot of events into the deck, and so he just takes Isabella, and with that has now committed to a leader. Actually, all of us have already committed to a leader, interestingly. HealingAura seeds again, the development of civil life is revealed, and he can seed again, so a lot of events are seeded by him. The development of religion is revealed, and thanks to the development of civil life being revealed first, HealingAura can take the free religion, even though he had no free population at the beginning of his turn, meaning after finishing the Acropolis he has the potential to go for a relatively cheap monarchy, but he actually makes the decision against it, goes for the Forbidden City, wants to get an additional civil action like that, and then maybe wants to wait for an H2 government. It's an interesting decision. I think it could have been maybe nice to go for this monarchy, also with considering that he has Nostradamus, where the 3rd additional military action can be quite nice to get some more value out of him and to easily keep some events and stuff in hand to be able to see it as often as possible. So I'm not sure if I would do it, but the Forbidden City can be quite a fine wonder, and maybe if he gets an H2 government relatively early, then it can be quite fine at the end. Now it's my turn. I will just finish the pyramids at my turn, getting the 5th civil action, and then I have 2 civil actions left that I can use to take some cards and to finally get the full Ashoka bonus going. And now, one card that I wanted to take is the Alchemy. I think it's a very nice card to have. It allows me to upgrade my science production so that I can further improve my economy at the following turn if I want to. Sadly, I don't have enough civil actions to take the knights. If those would be available for 2, I might have just taken the knights, because the event deck will flip. HealingAura had Nostradamus, had Caesar. I mean, he didn't draw that many events, so he probably just pushed what he had available, but if he had some strength events, he probably would have been confident enough to seed those. So it could be quite important to be able to go for some more strength soon, also to potentially defend in case HealingAura goes for more strength and threaten something like a double aggression. But with the knights being available for 3, I can't take them, and so instead I took the Alchemy to potentially be able to upgrade my economy. And then there are also some technologies available to give me even more civil actions, the Code of Laws and the Monarchy. With me being not on a lot of science production yet, with having no leader that produces additional science, I think getting the Code of Laws on top of the pyramids is quite a luxury, and I rather wanted to have the Monarchy. Maybe there will even be a chance that I can do a revolution to Monarchy at some point, potentially even at the next turn I could do a revolution, build a warrior that I will need for the phalanx tactic anyway, especially if this copy of knights is taken away but the next one not available yet. It could be an interesting option to just do the revolution to Monarchy, getting my 3rd military action, which could be helpful to defend, and also just having even more civil actions available. Bread and circuses potentially could also be something to consider with Pierre and Anthony Gaudi and Darwin being in the game, but I have now this religion, and with that I rather wanted to have the Monarchy. I revealed a phalanx tactic already, which is maybe a bit questionable, because that could make it more likely that the knights are taken away by one of my opponents on one hand, but on the other hand I also kind of wanted to keep the colony for Columbus in hand and a colonization card in case I needed to defend against HealingAura, and so at the end I was willing to reveal the tactic. But that could definitely be that it could potentially help one of my opponents. Flackk interestingly does the revolution to Monarchy now, and he actually has a way to get out of corruption. He can elect Isabella, getting 2 additional blue tokens from there, increases his population and builds a warrior to get a bit stronger in case HealingAura double seeds again. There could even be strength events revealed, so it's not only maybe to get out of corruption. And like this, he has the Monarchy going, but is relatively low in science, didn't find the time to build a 2nd lab yet, so that could potentially be problematic. But it's definitely not bad to have this Monarchy going now, and with having swap swap the leaders this turn. He can even take the Taj Mahal for free. He has a lot of resources, especially now with also having Isabella, so that could be quite a fine wonder in the situation. Healing Aura seeds, the development of Great Roots are revealed now. I was a bit afraid that he might seed again and I already get hit by a bad strength event, especially because at my turn, as you can see, the second copy of Knights is also coming down the row, so I will have the chance to go for Knights at my next turn, and so I was very happy to see that Healing Aura doesn't have another event to seed and that there is no strength events revealed immediately. Healing Aura takes the iron in hand, so he wants to have a way to upgrade his resource production, which is understandable with him also having an H1 wonder that he wants to finish. Maybe it can be nice to get some resource production going first. He could just develop it, maybe even build a fourth mine or something to get out of corruption, but instead he wants to have the knights, which is of course understandable. I'm not sure if it would be the correct move to commit to a fourth mine already. Instead he gets a bit stronger, has the knights in hand at the next turn that can then maybe start the iron production. My turn, I will use my politics phase actually, and I will offer the naval trade agreement. I want to have the additional colonization bonus and give Flackk 2 additional blue tokens. It's a bit of a speculation, but as said, Healing Aura has seeded a lot of events. He might have just seeded what events he has drawn with not that many options, so it's definitely a chance that there's a colony in there. There is a Suez Canal, which with having Columbus already could be quite nice. I can potentially make it even stronger if I should manage to win a colony. Also, I was hoping that I should not have any big issues to get out of corruption, so losing the 1 blue token is maybe not that bad. I was not certain if I should offer it, because Flackk has a bit of issues. Before the pact was offered by me at even 2 blue tokens less. But he could just do something like either finish the Taj Mahal or just increase his population a bunch of time, build a lab to get out of corruption even when I don't offer the pact. And once he's done that, he has 2 additional blue tokens from Isabella, already 1 from the Rome roads, will at some point get 1 additional one from the Taj Mahal. So I thought those blue tokens maybe are helpful for him now, but if he decides to keep the pact, then those are maybe not that much needed for him, because he has already quite a lot of additional blue tokens. And so with offering the pact, I prepared for potential colonies to come, and now I also wanted to be prepared for potential strength events to come. I decided to take the knights, and instead of going for alchemy or something, I just went for it immediately. I don't want to be in danger of getting hit by multiple strength events. Instead, I developed the knights, built a warrior, built a knight. Now revealing the tactic at a turn before was quite nice, and it was also one of the reasons why I decided to do it, because it allows me to fulfill a tactic in case I should get the knights. That is now quite nice, making me the strongest. And after that I have 1 civil action left, and that was quite a close decision for me, because the decision was between taking the drama or the frugality. The drama could be quite a nice technology to have in the situation, because as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of culture leaders in the game, and it could be nice to be prepared for them, especially because I have Columbus, who I maybe want to use relatively early in H2, and then ideally get a replacement as quickly as possible, meaning that it might be even more important to be prepared for multiple leaders, and the drama already prepares me for Bach and Antoni Gaudi. If I should get a chance to get Shakespeare and journalism early, it could also potentially prepare me for Shakespeare or something like that. And so the drama could be just a very nice technology to have in hand. On the other hand, if there is a chance that the age will end in 2 turns, and if that should happen or not in 2 turns, but even in 3 turns, if I don't take the frugality and take the drama, then at the next turn I can increase my population. I will again produce 2 additional food with Ashoka, meaning in 2 turns I will have 2 food, not enough to increase my population again. And then if I should make the decision to elect Columbus, I will drop in food production, meaning I might end up being stuck on 3 food, which is why I thought that the frugality could be quite nice, and it's not unlikely that it might mean that I get an additional population going. Of course, that's not for certain. There could be good harvest, there could be a colony revealed, there could be pestilence, there could be something like foray. So a lot of stuff could be in there that changes that, but no developments left. So it could definitely be that the frugality means an additional population. So it was a close decision for me, and I think both cards could be fine to take, but at the end I just wanted to have the drama and wanted to be prepared for those potential H2 culture leaders. With Gandhi being there in the end, I think that could just be a nice direction to go into in this game, and so I at the end made a decision to take the drama. Now it's Flack's turn. He will actually cancel the pact immediately, so he has no interest in increasing my chance to win a colony, and that also means that he has a nice way to get out of corruption, and he will just do it with finishing the Taj Mahal. He's not for cultural production, has a lot of blue tokens, even though he has cancelled the pact, and but has delayed his second lab by a bit, so he is still relatively low in science, but at least he has saved some science with going for the revolution, and has now 5 resource production. This is probably starting to generate a culture lead, even though HealingAura has already also scored quite a bit of culture, and with Nostradamus might also score some culture, so both my opponents might get a little bit ahead in the culture for over the next turns maybe. Also, I was happy to see that I just managed to get stronger in time, because the first event at VSC is a strength event, a call to arms. I don't lose any civil actions, and the next one is again another strength event. So I was very happy to see that, being able to win the foray, not losing any civil actions. And for example, for Flack, this definitely could be annoying, having lost those 2 civil actions, especially because the drama likely will be available for 2 for him, and with more civil actions he could have just taken, developed it, and built one directly with the Urban Growth A. But now that won't be an option, so I was quite happy to see those events, and that I just managed to increase my strength at the right time. HealingAura will now go for 1 night, copies the tactic, now will switch to Nostradamus, and then takes the rich land, but he doesn't find a way to get out of corruption very nicely, so he has to accept to take a bit of corruption, but even with that he can go for some iron upgrades at the next turn if he wants to, and still maybe get some nice production going. My turn, I don't want to use my politics phase, I want to keep the colony in hand for Columbus, and then I go for the alchemy. I could potentially think about a monarchy revolution, but with all of the stuff that I gained now with the foray, I think it's better to go for the alchemy now. I can, thanks to the 2 additional resources that I took from the array, can go for 2 upgrades immediately, and the 1 additional food that I gain also solves the issue that I had with the frugality. Now I should be able, even with not having the frugality, to get an additional population out, which I was very happy about. I go for the alchemy for 2 upgrades, going up to 4 science production. I will increase my population, and then I will just take the breakthrough. I think that's just a very clean turn, getting the alchemies going, increasing my population, and then taking quite a nice card for 1 civil action. At the next turn I have a relatively full hand, at least I can elect Columbus to make space in hand, but I also don't have enough science to go for iron if, for example, a copy of iron should be available. So I thought that at the next turn maybe it could be an interesting idea, even though it's late, to go for a monarchy revolution and then build a knight to get out of corruption. That of course would mean that I potentially have some happy face issues going into H2, but if I at the end have to go for a copy of Bread and Circuses or Theology, maybe that's not too bad, especially the Bread and Circuses with Pierre being in the game at the end, so I thought it could potentially be an interesting option at the next turn. I draw 2 cards, now the colonization card and also the blunder. Flack makes the decision to seed and opens the pestilence. He has 2 free populations, so it's maybe not that bad for him. I also have a free population. It's a little bit bad because now I can't do the revolution and build a knight to get out of corruption, so that takes maybe some options away from me, or weakens some options from me, but at least I have a free population, so it's not too bad. Flack builds the second lab finally, and then takes some yellow cards, the frugality and the urban growth. HealingAura this turn goes for the iron, can go for 2 upgrades, could go for a 3rd upgrade, but now he has just enough resources available to finish the Forbidden City at the next turn if he wants to do that. And he also takes the cartography, which is interesting. He has Nostradamus, that could mean that there are some colonies coming, and especially with the Suez Cannon in the game. And cartography, of course, could be quite nice, but at the moment he's also quite low in science, so it would be also be quite a big investment to go for the cartography. This turn I will elect Columbus, as it is my last turn in H3. Of course, it can always be an option to still keep Ashoka, because you lose the civil action of replacing your leader, but you gain another 1 food and 1 resource potentially. But in this case, the food wouldn't really do a lot, and so I don't think it's worth it to keep Ashoka. I just elect Columbus. And then the big question was, is there something nice that I can do with my turn outside from a revolution? And if not, then maybe it's just best to go for the revolution. There is a copy of iron, but as said, sadly I'm missing 1 science. I could go for irrigation, but I don't like that too much now at this point. I could just take some yellow cards, but I also don't have the most hand space, so I have to be a bit careful. I could potentially develop the drama, but I also didn't like that too much, so I didn't really find a turn that I was very happy about. And so at the end, I made a decision to go for the revolution. I have corruption, I have already 5 civil actions with the pyramids. It's relatively late, so it's maybe not the ideal or most efficient revolution, but I still think it's very nice, because I think there might be a lot of interesting stuff to do, or also important stuff to do in H2. If this copy of iron is taken away, I might have to go for the coal. There are some very interesting wonders, and just already having fixed my government form might just be very valuable. If I don't go for that now, I first of all have still the monarchy in hand, which could make it that I have not the most hand space to work with, and if I then develop it peacefully at some point, it could make it a bit more tricky to go for the monarchy and the coal. And now I just have it going into H2. I have a lot of free civil actions, and with that I just made a decision that the revolution is quite nice. I will have 8 signs at the next turn, so if there should be a very early coal revealed, thanks to the wealthy territory from Columbus, I could even just go for 1 coal upgrade immediately. So I just think that the revolution is probably the best option here. And with doing the revolution, I also don't take any of those cards, meaning that the iron stays on 2 for Flackk. If he wants to go for that, he has to pay an additional civil action for it, so that is also 1 point in favor of not taking any of those cards, which I do when I go for the revolution. I draw some more events, another colony, but probably I rather want to go for the wealthy territory. The cultural influence is revealed, with Flackk getting the most out of it with having finished the Taj Mahal. He takes the engineering genius. There are some interesting H2 wonders coming, so that's understandable, and he is willing to pay 2 civil actions for the iron. Maybe doesn't want to risk missing out on it. To get out of corruption, he increases his population 2 times, and interestingly builds 2 more warriors, which is interesting. He is still the weakest. Not sure if he was in danger of an aggression before, but now when the age will end, he will lose those 2 yellow tokens and has an uprising issue. So that could be potentially problematic, so I'm not sure about building this 4th warrior. And also, while the engineering genius is nice, I think the breakthrough could have been also quite an important card to take here, with being relatively low in science yet still. I at the end lose the Richland A, so on one hand I at the end wasn't able to use it, but it definitely did its job very nicely to allow me to relatively easily get a lot of value out of Ashoka. HealingAura seeds, and the event revealed is the knowledge of the ancients. I gained the least out of it. HealingAura gains an additional resource. Now he will be able to finish the Forbidden City. He has now his 5th civil action going, and he is willing to develop the cartography, is willing to commit some science, which could potentially prolong it until he can go for government form, and could prevent him from doing some other potentially interesting stuff. So that definitely is a big indicator that there are some interesting colonies coming, because otherwise I think it could have been also just very strong to take the breakthrough and leaving some science still leaving him with some science. Of course, it could also be that the Dark Ages are coming, and it could be a preparation for that. Maybe Dark Ages and colonies are coming, and then developing the cartography could be quite helpful. This turn was quite an interesting decision. It was quite an interesting decision between 2 main options, or 2 main approaches how I want to continue the game. Because one idea that I had was to use Columbus immediately for the wealthy territory, take the St. Peter's Basilica and just finish it, and then I was hoping that at the next turn I might have the chance to get Bach, because both of my opponents don't have the drama in hand. It would be a bit of a commitment to go for Bach without the opera, and then if I should be able to get Bach, I have the St. Peter's Basilica, I have the drama in hand, and then I maybe can be in a position where relatively cheaply and easily can produce a lot of culture. Hopefully I would still be able to then also build a decent economy on top of it, with maybe going for coal at some point, and I thought it could definitely be interesting to go for that line. But there is also a Suez Canal coming down the road. I will get 1 colony with Columbus. If I maybe now get an interesting H2 colony, that could be a very interesting wonder to go for at the next turn, and I could potentially still go for it at the next turn if I go for St. Peter's Basilica now and finish it immediately. But then I am still in bronze mines, I don't have the most production left, and it would just be very costly and difficult to be able to finish the Suez Canal. So I thought, if I want to leave myself open to potentially get a very early and strong Suez Canal, if I get an interesting colony from H2, then I maybe shouldn't go for the St. Peter's Basilica, but the question is, what do I want to do then? I could just take the Suez Canal already, making sure that I'm able to get it, because if HealingAura, for example, wins the colony with his cartography and has maybe already another colony in hand, he could just take the Suez Canal away. But at the moment I don't have an H2 colony, meaning I just don't want to commit to the Suez Canal already. It would be quite costly, but then the question is, of course, if I don't go for St. Peter's Basilica, how can I spend my civil actions nicely? Do I just take some rich lands and maybe the reserves or something like bread and circuses? Maybe that could be fine. And at the end, I made a decision that I want to leave myself open for the Suez Canal. I made a decision against the St. Peter's Basilica, because it's not only the Suez Canal, there are also the Wonders, Ocean Liner Service, Harvard College, which could potentially just at the end be stronger than the St. Peter's Basilica, even though that is quite a nice combination with those dramas and with the plan of going for Bach. So I definitely considered it, but with all of those strong H2 wonders there, I wanted to leave myself open and maybe use the wealthy territory from Columbus to allow myself to get into one of those interesting H2 wonders. And to use this turn in a nice way, I at the end made a decision to go for the Code of Laws. Very expensive. It is definitely expensive to take it for 3 here. But the alternatives, first of all, are maybe not that interesting, just loading up on some rich lands. Maybe the additional civil action is just more important than the one additional rich land that I maybe could get together with something like a reserves one. And also both I and Flackk are in monarchy, have some science saved up at the moment, so the Code of Laws could be an interesting technology for both of us. Maybe Flackk wouldn't even take it, he has some issues with uprising, maybe he just wants to get some iron production going, so maybe there's a chance I just get a Code of Laws at the next turn, but he might also go for it, and then I'm still at a fine amount of civil actions, but 7 civil actions could just be more useful, and even if I spend some science now, I could I still have enough saved up to go for the coal at the next turn, if that should be available, for example, and which is important, otherwise I think I wouldn't have gone for the Code of Laws. And also, we saw HealingAura develop the cartography, which definitely, the reason for that definitely could be colonies, but as said, the Dark Ages could also be a reason for that, and with that I also thought it could be nice to just develop some science already, and so at the end I went for the Code of Laws and 1 copy of Richland. It could also be fine to just take the reserves and maybe bread and circuses, but at the end I thought I can maybe also just wait for an H2 happy face solution and rather wanted to have the Richland. I made a decision to discard one of the 2 colonization cards and keep both of the colonies, just so that in case I should decide that I want to go for the Suez Canal, that I can just use maybe Columbus for the wealthy territory and at least have a backup colony in hand. Sadly, I don't draw an H2 colony yet, so I have to decide if I really want to go for the Suez Canal, but it could still be an interesting option. Flack seeds, and the event revealed are the raiders. So I and Flack get hit by that. Sadly, I don't have any food saved up, meaning that I will have to lose 2 resource, which is not ideal with only being on bronze mines, but maybe also not too bad. Flack is willing to pay 3 civil actions for the Rifleman. He has a lot of warriors, so that could be a very important technology for him. He develops them immediately, goes for 1 upgrade, maybe gets stronger, but actually deletes the warrior, has to fix his uprising, so we saw now that maybe it was questionable to build it at the turn before. Maybe he was thinking that he wants to just go for theology, but at the beginning of H2 there can just always be interesting cards available that will disrupt the plans that you have made before. But he goes for the Rifleman, definitely an important technology for him. He builds a 2nd religion, which could potentially be an indicator for a rebellion coming, or maybe something like immigration. But maybe he just also didn't want to load up on even more cards in hand, so maybe it was also just a way to use the civil actions and get a little bit more of additional culture production going. With not taking any cards, Bach stays on 2 civil actions for HealingAura, which I was happy to see, because even without going for St. Peter's Basilica, I was still hoping that maybe I have a chance to go for him at the next turn. HealingAura seeds and the rats are revealed, not a lot of food is lost, so not a big impact by that event. HealingAura is willing to pay 3 civil actions for the selective breeding, takes the rich land and upgrades his last mine. There's also a constitutional monarchy coming down the road, but with both of his opponents having the monarchy already, there's maybe no need to commit to it already. And now at my turn I have to decide, do I want to go for the Suez Canal, do I want to do some other stuff? So you can see I use Columbus for the wealthy territory now. Of course I could have waited even longer to maybe get a strong H2 colony, but I decided to use him now because now I have a way to use those resources in a nice way. And as you can see, I will go for the coal here. I make the decision against the Suez Canal without having drawn a strong H2 colony. I just don't think it's strong enough, especially because going for the coal here and getting 2 upgrades in immediately is just very strong. Especially also because Flack hasn't committed to the iron mines yet, so if I don't take the coal, he can just go for the coal and go for some coal upgrades instead of iron upgrades. So I just thought, no, going for the coal here is best. And while I miss out on the Suez Canal, there are still Harvard College and Ocean Liner service in the game, so there is still a good chance that I hopefully will get a nice H2 wonder at some point. So I take the coal, I develop it, go for 1 upgrade, go for another upgrade, and then I just take Bach in hand. I can maybe elect him at the next turn, maybe go for 1 drama already or something to get some cheap culture production going. And it's just very nice to have a replacement leader already after having used Columbus. I could have definitely also thought about keeping Columbus for another turn, now that I don't elect Bach anyway. Then I can go for 1 upgrade less, but I can maybe use the civil action to take the fission upgrade. But taking the fission upgrade instead of going for 1 more upgrade, definitely is only 1 more resource, but I have to pay a civil action for it. It would be 1 more civil action behind. I thought there could be some interesting cards coming, like a 2nd copy of Rifleman, which I might want to take, an H2 wonder like Ocean Liner Service or Harvard College. So at the end, I made a decision that I want to just be that 1 civil action ahead, that I don't want to be inefficient just to allow myself to maybe draw another colony, but it's a close decision and I could have also kept Columbus for 1 more turn and to hope that I might get something interesting. And with the cards that I draw now, I definitely maybe would have kept Columbus for 1 more turn. I actually am able to draw the autonomous territory, but sadly now the Suez Canal and Columbus are already gone, so I don't have a way to cheat that one into play. Flack Seeds and the Dark Ages rather revealed, so that event is indeed in the deck. I was happy that I managed to lose only a small amount of science to that after being able to go for the coal and the Code of Laws. Flack is now makes the decision to go for the iron, doesn't want to wait for the 2nd copy of coal, and he goes for an upgrade and just takes the selective breeding also for 3 civil actions, so both of my opponents were willing to pay quite a price for that card. Which means that both of those copies are taken, meaning now I might have really hoped to get the Ocean Liner service, otherwise there's the danger that I might get stuck on my current amount of population. Flack then goes for 1 more upgrade to Rifleman, so that he isn't the weakest any longer. HealingAura takes the Constitutional Monarchy, can at some point maybe go for it relatively cheaply with the Acropolis, but he has not the most science saved up, so he has maybe still to wait, maybe 2 turns or something like that. He takes the Efficient upgrade, and then even has to float 1 civil action because he can't take more cards. For him maybe it would also be great to get a wonder, maybe Harvard College would be ideal for him at some point. This turn I make the decision to elect Bach, just having that done that and starting to get some culture production is very nice. I made the decision to also go for my 3rd mine upgrade, so that I have just now some very strong resource production going. And then I also have a lot of civil action left that I can mostly just spend to take some cards, or I can also spend them to develop the drama and maybe upgrade a religion to drama, and actually will do that later in my turn, but it still was the question, what cards do I actually want to take from the row? I could just take some yellow cards like reserves, maybe Wave of Nationalism, but the reserves could be more important. If there's something like Utavas coming, I miss out on the Ocean Liner service, it could just give me an additional population, which could be quite important. And it's just a flexible card, but I have a lot of resource production, and so maybe I don't want to pay that many civil actions for something like reserves. I could just take the cannons, for example, and then do something like develop drama and upgrade a religion to drama, because I don't have any military technology from H2 yet. The 1st copy of Rifleman is taken away, so if I don't take the cannons now, there is definitely the chance that I might miss out on some military technologies, so that could be a fine play. At the end, I made this decision that the most important card to take is maybe the architecture here. because now after having missed out on those selective breedings, the Ocean Liner service has the highest priority from all things probably that I still have to do in H2. And when I have the architecture in hand, then even when the Ocean Liner service is in the third card row, even then I can take the Ocean Liner service, develop the architecture and finish it immediately to get the population going as quickly as possible, which might be important because with Bach and having cheap dramas, having a lot of population available is just very strong. So I could, like this, just finish the Ocean Liner service one turn earlier thanks to having the architecture in hand, being able to save one civil action. And with that I wanted to have the architecture. I could now just take the cannons in hand, for example. Could maybe be fine, maybe it would be the safer play than what I do now, but I at the end made the decision to develop the drama, go for one upgrade to just get a little bit of more cult reduction immediately, making it that the gap to my opponents won't be getting too big over the next turns. And then with my last civil action I took the Organized Religion. I don't have Happy Face solution yet, so having that in hand now is definitely also not bad. And then I just have to hope that I get the cannons or maybe the second copy of Rifleman at some point, so that I can still have a way to go for some more strength. But while it is nice to have the cannons at the moment, I don't have any additional population, so it would at the moment be quite tricky to go for the cannons, so they don't offer me any any big value to maybe get stronger the next turn. So if those would be Riflemen, maybe I would be more inclined to take them. But with that I was willing to take the risk. But just taking the cannons and not going for the dramas yet could definitely also be an idea. But now I have that already out of the way. For example, if the Ocean Liner service should be available at the next turn, maybe I can just take and finish it. Then I have the additional cult reduction already this turn and at the next turn. And that could also be just quite a bit of value. I draw some cards. I have now some colonization cards in hand, which I was very happy to see, especially with me still expecting that there might be a colony coming. But what I was not happy to see is that there's a war territory declared against me, so that might potentially be problematic. Black is actually willing to destroy some stuff in order to go for that war. Builds a Rifleman, with that it is at 12 strength, meaning if I don't do anything against this war, I will lose 2 yellow tokens, which is problematic because I don't have a free population, and depending on what cards will be available for me, I might have to destroy something in order to get more strength. So I'm now in danger of losing potentially 2 yellow tokens and get maybe quite a bit disrupted from what I actually want to do. Flack also takes the cannons and the cavalryman, so make sure that he has all of the military technologies in hand. Healing Aura seeds, the immigration is revealed, so the religion that was built by Flack earlier was maybe indeed because of that immigration. Flack is now the only one that gets some value out of it. As you can see, the Ocean Liner service is coming down the way, so that I maybe have to take it the next turn. Even though I get hit by that war. Healing Aura goes for selective breeding now, and I was happy to see that he takes reserves and Wave of Nationalism. Makes sense for himself, but I was happy to see it because now the Ocean Liner service falls down in the 2 civil action area, making it maybe more easy for me to go for it. And now I have to think about how I want to defend against this war, and I was happy to see that there are the Riflemen revealed, meaning that I have some more options to maybe get stronger. I definitely, regardless of what I do, I definitely want to go for the Ocean Liner service, because if I don't take it, Flag hasn't committed to the selective breeding yet, has the Engineering Genius in hand, and with knowing that the Ocean Liner service is the last option left for me in H2 to get some more population going, he might just go for it, and no, I just think I need the Ocean Liner service here, otherwise I might be in a big trouble. And then the question is, do I just want to ignore the war, lose 2 yellow tokens, and finish the Ocean Liner service already? Maybe with using the architecture, but I could also do it without it. Or do I want to go for Rifleman, develop it, and go for 2 upgrades, getting stronger, and also making sure that I don't lose 2 but only 1 yellow token? The problem is, if I develop the architecture and finish the Ocean Liner service now, then I'm only at 5 science at my next turn, meaning that I would be quite in danger of potentially getting hit by another war. I can't even threaten to go for something like Rifleman or Cannons, and also I very likely would miss out on a second copy of Rifleman, meaning, and I also still don't know if I get a last copy of Cannons, meaning it would get even more dangerous to to maybe miss out on military technology, and with that I made a decision that I want to have the riflemen, and then with taking them I also want to develop them in order to make it that I lose one yellow token less, especially with having no farms that I can upgrade to fix some famine issues that I might have with the ocean liner service later on. It is could be quite important to make sure that I have at least don't lose too many yellow tokens. And then at the next turn I can then maybe finish the ocean liner service. Sadly I'm missing one science to go for the architecture, but maybe it's better to not commit the science to the architecture anyway. So I probably the next turn, unless I get disrupted by something, will just build it even without being able to use the architecture. I just keep all of the colonization cards in hand because the other events at the moment don't look that great to play, and I still was thinking that there might be a colony coming, so I wanted to have a shot at potentially winning it. Flackk steals one yellow token from me. He seeds, and the event revealed is the inhabited territory. I was willing to bid, I think, a knight and two H2 colonization cards or rifleman, and I definitely wanted to make sure that I'm not in danger of getting hit by an aggression, and I was willing to bid as much as possible in order to be safe from as long as I'm still safe from an aggression, but it is not enough to win at the end, and Flackk is able to win it, but I was happy to see that he has to pay quite a big price for it. He has to send a rifleman away and also pay 3 additional resources with Isabella. The 2 additional yellow tokens are definitely nice to have, but it's definitely also quite a big price to pay. And interestingly, Flackk is now willing to develop the cavalryman, spending all of his science, is building one, copies the phalanx tactic, and with that makes sure that he gets stronger again. And with him having seeded the next 2 events that are coming, I really thought that there might be some bad strength events coming, with him really making sure that he gets stronger again after having won this colony. No, but I thought that Flack's position is a bit problematic, with being still in very low science, having not upgraded those mines yet, having spent now all of his stuff basically during this turn. It will be very tricky to get some food production going, some science production going. That might be tricky to achieve now, so there is the danger for him that he maybe loses a bit of steam with his position. The Revolutionary Idea at least will be quite a helpful card for him, also the reserves, so with those cards maybe he can manage it to still build up some economy during the next few turns. HealingAura seeds, so I was quite afraid that I might get hit by a strength event, but the first event is actually no strength event, instead a scientific breakthrough, which I was happy to see, because it actually gives me more science than my opponents, and it might now give me the option to still go for the architecture if I would like to. And also it's not ideal timing for HealingAura, because he will now this turn actually go for the scientific method. He could have gone for it also without the scientific breakthrough being revealed, so he just missed out on quite a lot of science with it being a bit revealed just a bit too early. Of course he had knowledge about it with Nostradamus, so he was willing to take that 50-50 chance in order to get the Nostradamus bonus, and it might be the correct decision. I mean, you know me, I'm willing to take some risks when seeding, but he gets punished for this decision here and misses out on some science now. But even with missing out on some science, if he maybe is willing to build an additional religion or something at the next turn, he can still maybe go for the constitutional monarchy thanks to the Acropolis discount. And he also builds one more knight, so with him having Nostradamus, that also is a bit of an indicator that there might be some strength events coming, and that he is making sure that he is maybe not the weakest after my turn and not in danger of getting hit by any strength events. And this turn I think I have to finish the ocean liner service. The question is, of course, do I want to go for the architecture or not? And now that I did get the 4 additional science, I was actually willing to go for it. It just has the potential to still save me a bunch of resources. For example, also when I might go for the organized religion, when I build some more dramas, it still might save me some civil actions later on when I go for an H3 wonder. So I was willing to go for it, but it could also be fine to maybe rather save up some more science and maybe have then the chance to go for an H3 government form at some point. I then finish the ocean liner service, use it immediately. I will build 1 additional theater going up to 8 culture production, and then I will take the breakthrough, a card that is very important for me I think, and will actually just float the last civil action. I could have also taken the strategy. Maybe that could be an idea if I don't develop the architecture, but then I miss out on the drama, and it's still quite costly. There are military theories soon, so I was not willing to pay that much of a price for it. and rather wanted to have the additional science from the breakthrough and also get this drama going already. Sadly, I am missing one resource to be able to just take and finish the Harvard College at the next turn, which could be a very interesting option. So because of that, I thought, do I maybe want to play my turn in order to be set up to do this? But maybe I can also be fine without the Harvard College. It could also be happen that it is taken away by my opponents, and so I didn't want to change my turn and wait with building the drama just because of that. I draw some more cards, and now I also have my first tactic available. The last copy of cannons is still available, so if I should be able to get this now, maybe I have a tactic that I can go for at some point. Flackk plays the reserves. He interestingly doesn't see it, but he also has only one card in hand, so that might just be that he doesn't have an event. He then goes for Anthony Gaudi. And then I think at my turn before I considered to not float my last civil action and instead take the opera just to accelerate the deck, making it more likely that the age will end before HealingAura's turn, making it that he will lose Nostradamus and can't use him an additional time for seeding. But that would mean that Flackk gets Anthony Gaudi cheaper, so while it would maybe potentially hurt HealingAura, it or very likely it would help Flackk, and at the end I have a card in hand that I maybe don't really want to have. I could still get some hand space issues with not having the most science production, and at the end I wasn't willing to do that. Flackk goes for Anthony Gaudi nonetheless. The only other leader available is Robespierre, and now HealingAura has only Robespierre as his leader option available, and especially with having the Acropolis, that's not really a great leader for him. Flackk also goes for the Opera. He maybe knows that he doesn't have the best economy at this point, and maybe it's the right course of actions now to just play it a bit greedy, build up at least a culture lead so that he has an advantage in one area over his opponents, and then especially with Gandhi being the game, there's definitely the chance that he can just survive, especially also with having Rifleman and Cavalryman. If he gets the right H3 tactic, he can maybe also just relatively easily defend, so I think that is maybe the right course of actions that he is going into now. HealingAura also doesn't see it, which I was happy to see. First of all, that means that having Nostradamus now one turn longer doesn't really give him a lot of benefit, and also maybe it means that I have another chance to prepare for this potential strength event that might be coming. Especially HealingAura is going for the strategy. He could have also just built a slab and went for the constitutional monarchy. I saw that as a big indicator that there is indeed a strength event coming. He could have just had the monarchy and went for the strategy at the next turn, but now with him having Nostradamus and going for the strategy first, I really thought that the next event that is coming is indeed a strength event, maybe also some of the H2 events that are coming after that. And with that, I kind of wanted to get a bit stronger during my next turn. The question is, how can I do it? I can build an organized religion, but then if I build a unit, it's not really enough to get stronger. I could build an organized religion and also take and develop the cannons, and then build an organized religion, one cannon, reveal the tactic that would make me stronger, but I also would miss out on some draws, and I just didn't like it too much. I have famine, so I ideally want to go for a happy phase solution in order to build a farm to not start to lose a lot of culture. And at the end, even though I have the organized religion already in hand, I made a decision to go for the bro sports for quite expensive, but those are just very useful for me here. First of all, just building one makes me the strongest, and with that prepared for those events that are coming. And also it is a happy phase solution, meaning I can build this third farm. It gives even one more happy phase than the organized religion would have given me, so maybe just this one bro spots will be enough. Also it opens me up for Pierre. Bach is just a very strong leader for me now, and so I can maybe just keep him for a while, hopefully if there's no iconoclasm, and then Pierre would be quite a nice leader to get late into the game with the bro sports. So overall I just thought that is a lot smoother than going for organized religion and cannons. The downside is of course that now I don't have the civil actions left to take the cannons, but when we take a look at my opponent's Flackk has only 3 military actions, really has not a lot of science. HealingAura has some happy face issues that he can't easily fix because he missed out on the H2 happy face solution. So I really thought that my opponents at the moment are not really that threatening, and that I can maybe afford just waiting to go get rockets at some point. Especially also even with me taking the urban growth with my last civil action, there's no way that the cannons will be discarded at Healing Aura's turn, because Flack can neither take the cavalryman nor Robespierre, meaning either Healing Aura takes the cannons and after that maybe he is less inclined to take the rockets, or he isn't taking the cannons and then I just have the chance to get the cannons at my next turn. So it's a bit of a risk, but with my opponents not looking that threatening with me and the bro spots having now also an alternative way to get some strength going, I just thought that that I'm willing to do it, as instead of missing out on some draws, committing to cannons and organized religion, committing a lot of science into that. So I just rather wanted to go for the bro spots. I keep the tactic in my colonization cards. I do draw an early international tourism, so that could be nice to have. Flack is actually willing to go for Marlene Dietrich for 3 civil actions, so is willing to pay quite a big price for her, but she might be quite nice for him at some point to give additional happy faces to help with the military. And if he has multiple operas, then he is also giving us a lot amount of culture, so nice for leader for him. Maybe he also took her to maybe take her away from me. But I was not too concerned about it, because with having the arenas, now Pierre is just a very nice leader. Only if the iconoclasm should be revealed very early, then it could be bad to maybe not have a replacement leader instantly available, but if that should not be the case, then I was not really too unhappy about not having the chance to get Marlene. Flack then goes for the selective breeding, is now again very low in science, but at least has the revolutionary idea, and with going for 1 upgrade he has enough food to go for 1 upgrade at the next turn, and also we can again see he is willing to build another cavalryman. So again, there is a bit of a fight going on over this 1 strength event, and let's see if Healing Aura again also will be able or will be willing to go for more strength. For him it's definitely not easy to do, because he has quite some uprising issues. He goes for Robespierre, interestingly. It's the only leader from H2 available for him, but he could have also gone for the Conmon for just 8 signs peacefully. So it's the question if it is really worth it to go for Robespierre. At least he's getting also 3 culture, but he is missing out on all of his first H3 draws, so I think it's quite a bit costly, but he also doesn't have an alternative, so a different leader that he can go for, so it could still be fine, but missing out on those draws I think hurts quite a bit. And then at least he has the reserves in hand, meaning that he can blade it for food, increase his population, and with that have no uprising, a bit of corruption, but he has still some resource saved up, and he has definitely a decent economy going if he gets the 2nd copy of Bro Sports, if Flag doesn't take it away. It's a bit risky of Healing Aura to not take it. Maybe instead of the civil service he could have taken the Bro Sports, with that also being prepared for Pierre potentially. It's a bit risky, but Flag has also not the most hand space, so it would be a big commitment to deny the Bro Sports, and the civil service could of course also be quite a strong card. I at my turn offered the international tourism to Healing Aura. At this point I thought that if Flag doesn't deny the Bro Sports, which I thought might happen, because it's too costly, then I thought Healing Aura has maybe the better position, just because having a better economy, and even though Flag might generate a bit of a culture lead, because of the better economy, I thought Healing Aura maybe has the better position, so I could just decide to offer to Flag, but the issue is that I will actually go for the Harvard College this turn. Where did I actually get additional resources to be able to finish that? I guess that was at a turn, 1 more turn ago, where I didn't have enough resource to go for the Harvard College, and now it's still available, so I made the decision to go for it, meaning I will have 3 wonders, so if I afford to Flag will just get quite a bit more culture out of this pact. And Healing Aura also of course will generate 3 culture production, but he will get 1 less production out of it than Flag, and with that I just offered it to him, because at this point it's not completely clear which of those players will have the better position, and I just offered it to the player who will get less value out of it, but hopefully will still accept it, because it's early, and even if I should not go for the Harvard College, I think it's the right call to accept it. My turn, I use the Ocean Liner service, and as said, I will indeed go for the Harvard College. I can finish it quite efficiently with the architecture, and now I just have a very nice amount of science production going, hopefully allowing me to do a lot more easily, doing some nice stuff in H3, building up a nice economy on top of the cultural production that I'm getting now, thanks to Bach and also the international tourism pact. So at the moment I'm still behind, but hopefully I will be able to catch up relatively quickly. After that I have some civil actions left. I could just take the military theory, but there are some other alternatives, and I thought that I might have a chance to get the second copy of that if the first one is taken away, because HealingAura has already the strategy. Flackk has really not the most hand space and non-science, so I thought there is a good chance that I might just get another copy of military theory for cheaper at a later turn, and instead I really wanted to have, of course, first of all, I wanted to have the military build-up, but then of course also the cannons, because both of the copies of rockets are coming down the road, so that's of course even more important than the military theory, having a way to get this mobile artillery going, being prepared for potentially also some H3 tactics in case I get the tanks, or maybe draw something like positional or army or entrenchments. I could have also taken the rockets and the military build-up, but the cannons are a bit cheaper, and it allows are also available for one civil action cheaper, meaning that I can now still use my one more civil action. For that I either thought about taking the multimedia, just another way to improve my economy even more, prepare for a lot of impacts, generate even more cultural production. Could be fine, but maybe I also have to spend a little bit into the military, put one more work onto the farms, so I was not totally certain if I really can afford going for the multimedia immediately, and with that I just thought I maybe also don't have to take it and instead can just build one more drama for free with the urban growth, getting another 3 cultural production going, and then there's the chance that I either can go for the second copy or just find some other stuff that I can go build. But it could be also fine to just take it. Then the bro spots would be available for one for Flackk, maybe making it more likely that he will take it away from HealingAura. So it could be fine, but at the end I went with the additional drama here. I actually decided to discard a colonization card in order to keep the impact of strength, because depending on how the game goes, maybe I can just play it into the deck and it could have some potential. I draw the impact of population now. That is a lot more safer impact with the Ocean Liner service. I hopefully will get a bit more culture out of it than my opponent, so I can maybe seed it into the deck at the next turn. And I also have the modern army tactics, so if I should get tanks, then I could have maybe a way to get quite a lot of strength going. Flack seeds, and now finally this 1H1 event is revealed, and it is indeed a strength event, the Reign of Terror, which I was happy to see. So it just hits the weakest, it doesn't give Flack any benefits as the strongest, so that worked out quite nicely for me. In general, the order of those two events, because the scientific breakthrough was timed very nicely for me. Just before HealingAura I went for the scientific methods, and at that point I would have lost the Reign of Terror, but now I was able to avoid getting hit by the Reign of Terror, so that was definitely quite a bit swingy. Flack plays the revolutionary idea, makes space in his hand, develops the opera for 5 science, still quite a big science investment for him, but it might just be the right call to start some cultural production. But interestingly, he isn't starting it yet. He also doesn't have enough resource for it, of course, but with building Discovery Man, he makes sure that he also doesn't have enough resource for it at the next turn unless he gets help from the events. And instead uses Marlene to get a bit more strength going, maybe wants to put a bit of pressure on me in HealingAura. Maybe it has also something to do with wanting to be prepared for colonies, because HealingAura has the cartography. Maybe Flack has even seeded a colony into the deck by himself, and then with Marlene and having the Hussars tactic, he has now maybe very good chances to win potential colonies. So no, I think it makes sense to switch to Marlene, but of course he misses out on culture production from Antoni Gaudi, and with committing to Discovery Man, he also doesn't have enough resources to build his opera at the next turn to maybe generate a bit of a culture lead. HealingAura takes the bro spots that one wasn't taken away by Flack, and then he will build one, is nice now fix his happy faces, and then also takes the rockets. He also still needs an artillery technology, and also the movies, is willing to take the movies over one of those yellow cards, which is understandable because he has a nice economy, but maybe needs a way to transform it into culture production. On the other hand, he doesn't have the most resources lying around, so I think something like reserves could have been also quite a useful card for him. Now at my turn I see the impact of population into the deck. I'm the weakest at the moment and I will actually develop the military theory during my turn, getting a bit stronger, so there is definitely an argument for not seeding, but I also have generally quite a nice civilization which might at the end be prepared for a lot of different impacts. I also thought it could just be nice to get some production going now. And I was hoping that maybe there could just be some colonies in there. Yeah, but it could also be fine to just wait and maybe not seed yet, but I don't get punished for it. The civil unrest is revealed. Then at this turn I will go for the military theory. There is actually a multimedia in the row, and I think I will also take it. So I could have also gone for it immediately, but then I would have stayed the weakest. Now I can a lot more easily keep all of those cards in hand, keep both of the colonization cards, keep both of the tactics, keep the impact of strength. So alone because of that I wanted to develop the military theory, and maybe I can then go for the multimedia. I still have enough science to go for it at the next turn. There are also a lot of interesting yellow cards available for me very cheaply. The reserves is available, the engineering genius is very nice because I ideally want to go for something like Hollywood, Internet, or United Nations at some point, or maybe even the Manhattan Project if I build some multimedias. And yeah, as I said, I also want to have the multimedia. With having the military theory now and with having the modern army tactic drawn, I was a lot more confident about my strength, and even so Flackk did put a bit of effort into going for more strength. He also is still only in 3 military actions, and I think it would be quite hard for him to really set up some threatening military. And HealingAura also doesn't have the most resources, doesn't have the most populations, so I just felt relatively safe and now wanted to have another way to get even more culture production going. And then I also, as my last civil action, took the patriotism, meaning that I have a full hand now, which could potentially be problematic. So I could have, for example, also just played the reserves with the Harvard College already. But on the other hand, having another yellow card for one civil action is also not bad. And if I at the end indeed go for something like Internet or Hollywood, every additional point of resource at the end could be useful. Also with having the modern army tactic and a lot of military actions, it could even be an idea to go for some military myself if I draw a war, and then the patriotism could also be useful for that. And also it makes it that the space flight is discarded, meaning that no, it won't be available for HealingAura as an option. I draw some more impacts now. Maybe not the best one. The impact of progress has some potential, especially if I should get the satellites the next turn, but HealingAura also has the civil service in hand, but it's a very strong impact against Flackk. And the impact of agriculture for now is quite bad, but if I should go for mechanized agriculture at some point, of course it can get better. Flackk seeds and a wealthy territory is revealed, so there is indeed a colony coming, and here maybe I pay a little bit too much for it. I think it is actually a mistake to bid that much. I bid 1 rifleman and all of my colonization cards, and thanks to my many military actions I'm not in danger of getting hit by an aggression, so it's maybe not bad to win this now. And I also really liked it that both Flackk and HealingAura have not the most resources available, and if one of those wins the colony for cheap, then out of the sudden I have a lot of resources and can maybe do some stuff. So those were the reasons why I kinda like to win this colony for myself. But I think maybe I shouldn't have bid that much, maybe only a knight in all of my colonization cards or something like this, just a little bit less, because now, while I can defend against an aggression, it would still be very costly, because HealingAura just goes for an aggression. He has a lot of military actions, and if he has no nice events to seed, then he could just go for an aggression against me, and I can only keep 1 card in hand. I would have maybe to discard all of my impacts. I would have commit to already a tactic. So I think that is quite dangerous, and also I had a lot of resources already. Now I have even more. I have all those yellow cards, so I have maybe more than enough resources anyway. And I've lost a population, which at the end maybe could have been even more important. At least it makes it that I don't go into famine yet at the next turn. That could be nice, and I still do get quite some resources, could still be useful. So if I don't get punished, it is fine, but I think it was not worth it to take the risk. Especially there's still the chance that there might be some more colonies coming, and so with that I think I should have only built a bit of knights here. And Flackk interestingly takes the revolutionary idea. That is definitely understandable, and also the air forces, of course, also an important card, but maybe difficult to go for him. Maybe he still hopes to somehow potentially go for war with the patriotism and going for those cards, or it's just for defensive purposes to not be in danger of getting hit by war himself. Now Now it's Healing Aura's turn. I was a bit afraid that he might go for this aggression, but luckily he doesn't. I don't get punished for that, and instead he seeds an impact into the deck. And there's another colony coming, and yeah, maybe the vast territory at the end would have been the more useful one for me. Then I easily could have gotten some population, maybe used the military build up to rebuild those population, get a lot of resources out of there. So of course I didn't know that this colony is coming, but I think I shouldn't have bid that much in the wealthy territory, and then maybe I could have bid now that much on the vast territory, because I'm not in danger of an aggression and I can just rebuild it. It helps me a lot with the famine, so I think there I made a little bit of a misplay. At least Healing Aura has to still pay a bit of a price for it, has to pay 2 knights for it and a colonization card, so that's at least nice to see. He then goes for the civil service this turn. The blue tokens might also be quite useful for him now. He builds 1 knight, increases population again, builds 1 additional bro sport. Interestingly, maybe he was afraid of getting hit by an aggression. Maybe he just doesn't have anything else to do, because it's definitely a bit of a commitment. But maybe he's also hoping that he might get Pierre soon, and then the additional bro spot, of course, is definitely nice to have. He takes the engineering, that helps him for potential impact of progress, so if I don't take the satellites, then the impact of progress might be difficult to seed into the deck. And he also takes the tanks, is now also prepared for multiple tactics, but there's another copies of tanks coming down the road, so if I want to be prepared for the modern army tactic, then I have a chance to take it now. Also there's the question, do I want to seed? I think I don't get stronger during this turn, if I remember it correctly, so I will still be vulnerable to strength events after my turn, but the thing is, at the moment those events are just not too great. I don't really, especially with having not a lot of hand space, there is not really an easy way to implement the satellites into my turn, especially because there are a lot of other interesting and important cards in the row, and with that I don't want to commit to the impact of progress, because as soon as Healing Aura develops the engineering, he gets just quite a bit more points out of it than me. The impact of agriculture is not that great. The impact of strength at the moment would still be a bit uncertain, even though I have maybe some ways to be able to win it. So I didn't commit to an impact at that point and just skipped my politics phase. I then used the ocean liner service, played a patriotism, first of all to make space in hand, but also I wanted to get a bit stronger again. I don't want to be in danger of an aggression, so I want to build a military unit, and I have to make space in my hand anyway. I can now maybe use the resource of the patriotism. Who knows, if the game remains peaceful, I don't have another chance to do this, so I just use it now. Build this rifleman, take the tanks in hand. I could even just go for the tanks or the cannons immediately, get even some more strength going, maybe reveal the tactic. I could even get the strongest. But even though I could potentially get hit by some strength events, I made a decision to just go for the multimedia first, get even more science and culture production going. And if I do this, I think I have to take the revolutionary idea to still at least threaten to be able to go for cannons and tanks at the next turn, being able to go for the modern army tactic. And yeah, there still should be a 1H3 turn left, so I can still develop the cannons at the next turn before I will lose them. And then now I have a full hand again, but thanks to the Harvard College I can just play the revolutionary idea immediately that I've just taken. I draw some more cards. I have no war in hand, but no more, not an additional impact. I am now the weakest, so I was hoping that there is no bad strength events revealed, and there's another colony coming. Again, with no colonization cards, I wasn't really willing to bid a lot for that. Could still maybe bid 3 or something, but I just thought, no, that won't be enough anyway, so I just passed, and Flackk is able to win it this time, and this time he can use the Marlene bonus very nicely for colonization. Draws a lot of cards, and yeah, with that has won the strategic territory. This turn he also finally finds the time to build an additional opera, so he still has a bit of a culture lead, will beat 91 after his turn, but I already catched up quite a bit, have already a lead before Healing Aura, and with my nice position and maybe the chance to make a big Hollywood or internet, I was really confident about my position at this point. Flackk then plays the revolutionary rear, takes another one, develops the rockets interestingly, so he probably has drawn a tactic for that, keeps some cards in hand, and then draws another 3 new ones. Healing Aura this turn seeds, opens the Independence Declaration, so now I get hit by a strength event, but that's not really too bad for me, because I just have to lose the wealthy territory 1. Healing Aura this turn goes for the democracy, again there's a revolution with Robespierre, which doesn't really save him a lot of science, but at least one civil action, also scores him another 3 culture, but he also again misses out on some draws, which could potentially be costly, but it definitely gives him some value. He takes the United Nations, has now a wonder that he can finish, and then he also takes the reserves, takes Pierre, and takes the Urban Growth at the next turn. He can finish the United Nations. When he goes for the engineering, that will score him 16 points, plus a potential impact, and he also with the Urban Growth can then build another Pro Sports with Pierre. This turn, as you can see, I actually made a decision to seed, which was definitely not a clear decision, because it is a commitment. I commit to the impact of strength here. And I will develop the cannons this turn, build one, and reveal the outdated modern army tactic, which makes me the strongest for now. It should definitely make it already give me enough strength to stay before Healing Aura in strength. I will be at 27, Healing Aura, if he builds one more Pro Sport, will be at 24. And Flackk just developed the rocket, so there's definitely the chance that he might get a bit stronger. But I think with the game just ending, it could be very reasonable for him to also just build as many operas as possible. And then I was hoping that there's a good chance that maybe he doesn't get stronger. Of course, he might have drawn a knight's tactic, has the patriotism, so there's the danger. But in case he gets stronger, ideally I don't want to have to increase my strength at the next turn. But I could still do it potentially. And even if I at the end I'm only the second strongest, I still thought it might not be too bad, because while Flackk has a culture lead at the moment, after his production he will maybe be about 20 culture before Healing Aura, but Healing Aura will get the United Nations, will get the PR Olympic Games, might be able to evaluate an impact. In general is a lot better prepared for impacts than Flackk, so I thought that Healing Aura is maybe the player that is nearer to me, or the closer. So I thought if at the end Flackk should be the strongest and I'm the second strongest, I still get a 3 culture for seeding. Also, it could be that the impact of population is revealed a bit earlier. If Healing Aura his next turn just increases his population a bunch of times, then that might also give him a bit more culture. That impact is revealed later on. So it was a close decision. It could also be fine to not commit to it, to not take any risks. But I thought even if I should end up at the second strongest position, it's not too bad for me, especially because with the Hollywood that I will build now, I just really didn't see how Flackk will be able to be any threat for me. Healing Aura for him, it might also be difficult, but he has the United Nations, has the Olympic Games, has some impacts where he could be strong, so I was a bit more afraid from him, but overall had just I was confident about my position. This turn I will indeed take the Hollywood, that just the one that might give me the most points, and then I want to develop the cannons so that I can threaten to go for the modern army tactic. It's maybe not really necessary, because Flackk can't really do that much, but if he has a hybrid war and goes for one tactic, maybe he can do a little bit of damage, but I have that many resources saved up, so I could still very likely win the war. So maybe it's not even necessary to develop the cannons, but I still wanted to do it now, of course, now that I've committed to the impact of strength. Of course, that now I kind of have to go for it, reveal the tactic, being at 27 is strength now, and then I play the reserves of food to not have any famine this turn, and at the end I take the endowment. It's the question if I really want to take the endowment, because I have to think about if I even have the free civil action for it, but I might have it. I will get one more free population with the ocean liner service, can put it into multimedia, destroy one lab, build another multimedia. And then, with thanks to the engineering genius, I can still finish the Hollywood for 2 civil actions then, and I also have the free civil action to take the endowment. But if I should at the end maybe get stronger, if I maybe want to get stronger, then maybe I won't have the free civil action. Also, there's the chance that if some impacts are revealed that are nice for me, that I don't get even the full value out of the endowments. So I thought if I maybe don't want to take it, and instead, for example, already use the engineering genius in the Hollywood to have more free civil actions at the next turn, also in case, for example, the last copy of democracy will be coming down the row. But at the end, I still thought it's nice to take it, and then I also forced the game to end, which is not necessarily good. Maybe it's even nice if the game continues. It's not really a reason, but I also felt like if the A game ends now, I have really good chances. So maybe I should just yeah, it's maybe just nice when I know that the game will end now instead. Yeah, but I should probably. It's also nice for my situation in this game if the game continues one turn longer, so it's not really a reason. At the end, I just took it because I thought I can maybe get 6 additional culture out of it. I was hoping to maybe draw another nice impact. Sadly not. Another war and the entrenchments tactic. Flack Seeds and the impact of population is indeed revealed already, scoring me plus 14, Healing Aura gets plus 8 and Flack gets plus 8 as well. He will play the Patriotism, dispense a warrior, and then builds a rocket, reveals the positional army, so he indeed does get stronger now, and then builds one more opera, takes the Elm Growth, can maybe build another opera at the next turn, is now at 15 culture production already. So for the last round he has a small lead before me, but I will get a big Hollywood. HealingAura also will get a Wonder the Olympic Games, but he is already quite a bit behind in culture, so yeah, I was just confident about my position here. H4 starts, HealingAura doesn't see an impact, uses the Olympic Games of course, gets 1 additional culture out of the Peace Treaty with Flack. He then develops the engineering, plays the resources, finishes the United Nations, also can't evaluate any impact, so yeah, it seems that he doesn't have the most impacts available. He has seeded 2 impacts into the deck at the moment, so not the most impacts. That could make it quite a bit more tricky for him to catch up in culture, but with this Wonder in the Olympic Games he will be at a similar amount of culture when going into the impact, so he might still have some chances for the second place definitely. But of course the impact of strength that I've seeded into the deck might be a bit bad for him. He just takes some cards, interestingly, because that actually makes it a democracy, drops down to 1 civil action for me, which makes a bit of a difference. Not the biggest at the end, but definitely opened up some more options for me and will allow me to do one more tiny thing at my turn. At my turn this time I won't seed anything. First of all, when I seed, then I get some additional culture, so I will just lose some culture from the endowment, of course, depending on what impact is revealed, but I am relatively nicely prepared for many impacts, so I didn't want to seed now. Also now I am not nicely prepared for the impact of culture that could potentially be in the deck, so if that one, for example, should be in top, I thought maybe it's not on top, but because the other event was seeded by HealingAura, and I thought it would be risky for him to seed the impact of culture, but yeah, those impacts are really quite bad for me anyway. The impact of progress would be able to score me some points against Flack, but HealingAura would get plus 6, and with me just losing the 3 culture from seeding, I didn't want to do this. Yeah, because I thought that HealingAura, even with the impact of strength in there, with that it might be quite close now between him and Flack, but I still thought with his economical position he might be able to catch up quite some points to Flack with the impacts. I use the Ocean Liner service, go for the democracy, I can take and develop it, and don't lose any civil actions for the turn basically, because I get 2 additional civil actions back immediately. Spending the science though takes the option away for me to go for the tanks, so I thought about preparing for the impact of strength and going for the tanks and doing some stuff like that. But no, I would have to skip 1 multimedia in order to do and then that would already cost me 3 culture production, 6 from the Hollywood, so that's already 9 culture, and impact of strength only gives me 7. It gives me of course a swing against Flack, but yeah, I was still more worried about HealingAura than Flack, but at this point with the impact of strength in there, I mean I wasn't really worried about any of the opponents, but no, I just thought I want to score as many culture from the Hollywood and thought it is not really worth it for me to prepare for the impact of strength. I can play the endowment for 6 culture, I can build 1 library, another library, finish the Hollywood for 30 points. Could have also, instead of building 1 multimedia, build a drama, and then I have more resources to work with after I finish the Hollywood, but it also cost me 1 culture production, 2 culture from the Hollywood, and what I can do instead is also not that much. So I just went for the 2 multimedias, finished the Hollywood for 30 points, and with my last civil action that I have, thanks to the democracy being available for 1 civil action, I will reveal the entrenchments tactic, allowing me to play the military build up for 10 resources. I will transform one rifleman into cannons, getting a bit more of additional strength. And then the question is, do I also want to move the knight into cannons to gain 1 additional strength and +1 for the impact of competition, but missing out on 2 from the impact of variety. Impact of variety would give more points if I keep the knights in case it is in there, but it is also just a nice impact even if I don't have the knights. So if that is in there, it's still a nice impact. Impact of competition is also somewhat decent for me, but it's a bit bad, so I thought I rather wanted to prepare for an impact that's a bit where I'm a little bit worse, and also I thought it's maybe more likely that it is seeded because Flack has already seeded 2 impacts into the deck, and he doesn't have that many impacts where it's nicely prepared for. He has some, so it's not necessarily the case that the impact of competition is in there, but it's definitely possible, and so I thought maybe it's a bit more likely than the impact of variety, and so I at the end made a decision to put the knights into the cannons. That also means that I have 1 more strength, which potentially could be relevant, because Flag doesn't have knowledge about impact of strength. With none of his opponents being stronger than him, he might just think that no, the impact of strength isn't in there, and with that he might, in order to get maybe an additional population, if he wants to do some stuff, he might just be willing to disband a unit and then in order to build 1 more stuff, and if he disbands, for example, a cavalryman, he would drop down to 30, and now I would actually win the tiebreaker at the end. So that could also make a difference. I didn't have too much hopes that Flag will disband a unit, because I just thought maybe as I said, the impact of competition might be in there, and also the impact of harmony is an impact that could potentially be seedable for Flag. So there are 2 impacts that could be in there where he maybe doesn't want to delete a unit, and it could still be, even without them, that he may just want to speculate about a potential impact of strength. So sadly I at the end will only be the 2nd strongest in that impact, but at this turn I just could have developed the tanks and maybe went for 1 upgrade, but if I give some indications that impact of strength is coming, then Flag maybe also can put some effort into getting stronger again. So I basically have to make sure that I get that strong that Flag can't overtake me, even if he builds maybe 1 more rocket or something like that. And with that, I just went for as much culture with the Hollywood. And at Flag's turn, he interestingly has another impact, so he has now seeded 3 impacts into the deck, and the 1 impact that is revealed by HealingAura is maybe not that great for HealingAura, because with him having only seeded few impacts into the deck, he maybe needs now some big ones in order to catch up the difference to Flag, especially with the impact of strength. We can see that before the final impact it's not really a big difference, but with my impact of strength in there, he might need 1 very good impact to maybe make up for the potentially to make up the difference in culture, and then maybe hope that impacts from Flag are some neutral ones. Before going into impacts, I have quite a bit of a lead, so I wasn't really afraid that any of my opponents can catch up to me. And then Flag has at the moment a 4 culture lead to HealingAura, it's not the biggest one, but he has seeded 3 impacts and the impact of strength is in there, so with that he maybe has the better chances now. The first impact that is revealed is the impact of harmony, so that one is in there and gives Flag +4 against me and HealingAura. The next impact is the impact of strength, giving +14 to Flag, and so that gives him now quite a lead before HealingAura. And the next event is actually the impact of culture, so that one was probably seeded by Flag and has now he has an even bigger lead, and now it gets really even more difficult to be able to catch up this lead. There's also the impact of competition, so both of the impacts are in there where those units were needed for Flag. And it's relatively neutral. And then the last impact was the impact from HealingAura, the impact of technology, which actually allows them to catch up quite a bit in culture, but it is not enough at the end, and at the end I'm able to win it. Flag finishes this at the 2nd position and HealingAura at the 3rd position. So at the end this game went relatively nicely for me. I was a bit under pressure, and there were some difficult or potentially dangerous moments during Age 2, where I first of all missed out on the selective breeding, so I knew that I might be quite a bit dependent on the ocean liner service, and I was happy that I then had a chance to take it. But I also got hit by this war, Luckily, I had the chance to take the Ocean Liner service while still going for the Rifleman, and then I also at the end managed to secure myself a copy of Cannon so that I could go for and threaten a tactic at the end. So there were some potentially dangerous moments, but after I had all of those dangers fixed, then I think going into H3 I had quite a strong position. With Bach I managed to make up the culture gap, and then at the end with the Big Hollywood managed to win this game. Definitely also was lucky at some points, especially with those two H1 events, for example, and also the two strength events that at the beginning of the game were revealed immediately with the foray and the call to arms. So that definitely went nicely for me. And no, during H3 I thought that HealingAura maybe has the better position in Flack, but HealingAura just maybe would have needed some more nice impacts for him. And HealingAura did also do 2 Robespierre revolutions in H3, so those missing draws might be hurtful. It might still be the correct decision to go for Robespierre, because the 3 culture, the 1 civil action saved, and a bit of science saved are still value that he gets. But that is of course then the downside, those less draws, and Flack at the end was able to win the strategic territory, so he had some additional draws. So even though HealingAura is prepared for more impacts, with having more draws, Flack no. It was not unlikely that he also finds some impacts for himself, and yeah, so at the end with that, Flack manages to keep his culture lead and finishes at the 2nd position. Yeah, and with that, that was the 2nd game finished for me from this World Championship group. We can also take a quick look at the standings. There's also 1 game finish where I wasn't involved, and yeah, so let's take a look at the standings. And the 1 game where I wasn't involved, as you can see, was a 2-player game between Flack and HealingAura, and as you can see, it was quite a close game. But Flack manages to win that, so Flack now had 2 very close 2-player games, and now at least he was able to win it. And with that, we have the following standings. I have managed to win my first 2 games. I'm at 9 points at the moment. Flack has lost, has already 3 games finished, so the most games finished from all of the players, has one 2-player game, finished 2nd place, and lost 1 2-player game, and with that is at 6 points. SQ didn't finish any games yet, and HealingAura so far lost his 2 games, but there are still 6 games to come for him, so definitely still the chance to make a comeback, or to at least secure himself the 2nd or 3rd spot to be able to continue in the lower bracket of the next stage. Yeah, but so far, of course, I'm very happy about how the games went. It will be interesting to see how the games against SQ will be going, because yeah, he might be the top contender in the group potentially. Yeah, but definitely I'm happy about my start so far. I hope it was an interesting game to see for you. And then thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.